Let's move on now to the great or now not so great state of Minnesota with the head of the Center for the American Experiment and author of the brilliant Powerline blog, John Hinderaker. John, welcome to the program. In 1973, Time magazine ran a cover story entitled The Good Life in Minnesota. A little bit of trivia, by the way, that was written by my father. And today, Minnesota looks like this. Have a look.
Renee Good! Renee Good! Renee Good! All the people in this church, they're living real comfortable lives while children are dragged into concentration camps. So if we disturb their Sunday, oh no, nobody should have comfort right now while our immigrant communities are afraid to leave their houses.
Yes, that's right, John. The tolerant left is now invading church services, and apparently ex-CNN host Don Lemon was involved. Tell us about this. What's going on? And surely there have got to be some legal repercussions for this.
Well, this is a terrible story, James. This happened Sunday morning at the city's church in St. Paul, Minnesota. This is a Baptist church, and it was invaded by leftists. The service was disrupted. The ministers were harassed, and federal officials reacted with outrage. Pam Bondi, the attorney general, said that there would be criminal charges brought, and that in fact has happened. I believe 3 of the leaders of this church invasion have now been placed under arrest by the FBI. And the other interesting aspect of this story is that Don Lemon, the former and now disgraced talking head at CNN, was part of this church invasion. And he purported to be covering it. He's not at CNN anymore, but, on whatever platform he's using. But as far as you could tell, he was part of the group invading the church. He was harassing ministers, and he seemed to be one of the organizers, in fact, of that church invasion. And so he is one of the people that the Department of Justice wanted to charge under the FACE Act, which deals with harassment, among other things, with interference with church services. And the kind of remarkable story here just today out of Minnesota is that a federal magistrate signed off on the arrest warrants for the other individuals who led this church invasion, but declined to sign off on an arrest warrant for Don Lemon, apparently, as best anybody can figure out, because he's supposed to be a journalist.
That's really fascinating. And of course, all of this stems from the raids that have been going on in Minnesota connected to that Somali daycare welfare scam that we'd been talking about last year. Have there been any further developments on that? What's happening with federal efforts to crack down on these sorts of ethnically linked daycare and welfare frauds that allegedly have been going on all over the place?
Well, James, that's really a separate story, and it's on a separate track. What's happening there is that the U.S. Attorney's Office here in Minneapolis has estimated that something like $9 billion or more in additional fraud above and beyond what's already been prosecuted has occurred in recent years in the Medicaid programs being administered here in Minnesota. And so we're now waiting for that shoe to drop. We're expecting that any time now there's going to be a number of additional indictments coming down, no doubt followed by guilty pleas and ultimately probably some jury trials. So the fraud story continues. And the bottom line, James, is that these frauds have been centered overwhelmingly in the Somali community, and they have infected basically every welfare program in the state of Minnesota.
Unbelievable. Hey, John, I want to move on to something else and again pick your brilliant legal brain about another drama playing out. And I thought this was fascinating here. Bill and Hillary Clinton, the former president and First Lady, are now potentially in some jeopardy of being found in contempt of Congress after they refused to testify about what they knew about the illicit activities of Jeffrey Epstein and the goings-on Epstein Island. Among other things, this isn't really a great look for the Clintons. Apparently, Jeffrey's old girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, is going to testify, so why not the Clintons?
Well, it's interesting, James. The only politician who actually is known to have been close to Jeffrey Epstein was Bill Clinton. Epstein had this bizarre painting of Bill Clinton in a blue dress hanging in his house in New York, or maybe it was the island, I forget. But they were actually relatively close, and Clinton is the only politician who had that kind of relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. So this whole matter is totally political. The Democrats have been trying to smear Trump with Epstein, even though Epstein hated Trump. And now I think the Republicans are kind of retaliating by putting Bill and Hillary Clinton under oath for depositions. And they refused to appear last week for those depositions, and they were under subpoena. And so the House Oversight Committee voted to hold Bill Clinton in contempt, also to hold Hillary Clinton in contempt. Now, that potentially could turn into a criminal charge, but that's a ways off. The entire House of Representatives would have to go along and vote Bill Clinton in contempt of Congress. And if they did that, it would be up to the Department of Justice to decide whether to actually bring criminal charges. That may or may not ever happen.
But, John, it is interesting to me because I remember late last year, it was all in the media. Oh, Trump, Epstein, Trump, Epstein, Trump, Epstein. I kind of wonder if maybe this is why we're not hearing so much about Trump, Epstein anymore.
Well, the whole Epstein story has been blown massively out of proportion. The idea that there was this international ring of pedophiles operating at the highest levels of politics is just not true. There was never any evidence to support that. And the whole Epstein thing now has turned into a political football, with the Democrats demanding that all these files be produced and declassified and so on. And the administration kind of reluctantly saying, okay, if you really want them, here they are. And so they're in the process of doing that. But they are not producing anything like the kind of information that some people have alleged. And I come back to where we started out, which is the fact that the only major politician with whom Jeffrey Epstein really had a significant relationship appears to have been Bill Clinton.
Well, there you go. Hey, John, finally, before I let you go, I wanted to get your thoughts on something that I was reminded of via your excellent Powerline blog. This month marks the 9th anniversary of that fantastic moment seen and heard around the world. But for everybody who doesn't remember this, have a listen.
Donald J. Trump is now President of the United States. President Obama for the
what a great honor to be able to introduce for the first time ever anywhere the 45th President of the United States of America.
No, John, I need your thoughts on this.
James, that poor woman, we've all seen her 1,000 times since then over the last 9 years. It's become a meme, the woman screaming in the green jacket. But the thing that I would remind our viewers of, James, is that it's also the 9th anniversary of the riot that the Democrats perpetrated on the day when Donald Trump was inaugurated in 2017. And that riot, they burned buildings, they burned vehicles, they smashed storefronts. 6 law enforcement officers were injured. They attacked passersby. They did, I think, 1,000 or 10,000 times as much damage in that riot as occurred in that famous incident of January 6, 2021 that the Democrats always love to talk about. So it's also the 9th anniversary of when the Democrats rioted when Donald Trump was first inaugurated back in 2017.
Yes, John, but of course that was the tolerant left at work there, so of course we can't criticize them at all. John Hinderaker, thank you so much for your time.